The hardest part about building a community online is making it profitable. However, if you know exactly what to do, then building a profitable online community becomes 100 times easier and more effective. There are certain things that all great communities do and have, and that's what I'm going to walk you through in this video so you can get results like you see on screen right now. So jumping straight in, step one is to calculate your costs. So this means calculating things such as the cost of a software, the cost of the teams that you're going to put in place, maybe even the opportunity cost. So to give you real life examples here, obviously any software that you're going to host your community on, the majority of them have costs. I recommend for my clients and for my students to use Skool, and this has a cost of $100 per month. So that would be the cost of the software. Again, cost of teams. If you're making content, you want an editor, you want someone to do your thumbnails, you want a manager of your staff, you want people in your community making courses, whatever it is, it's going to cost you money. So you need to calculate roughly how much these things are going to be costing you every single month. And when it comes to opportunity cost, this is more of an accounting term, it's an economics term, and this basically just means how much money you could be making somewhere else. So say for example, if you could take a sales call that takes an hour and make you, I don't know, $100, and then you spend 2 hours making videos for your community instead of doing that, then the opportunity cost there is $200. So you may or may not want to take this into consideration as well when you're making your calculations from month to month. But you need to have an idea, have it down on pen and paper, have it in your mind as to how much this whole thing, this whole setup is going to cost you every single month roughly. So once we've calculated the cost of our community, and this is everything combined together, we need to move on to step two, which is the pricing strategy. What pricing strategy are we going to use? And I tell my clients, my customers, it all depends on what you actually sell. So for example, if you're selling a community where there's a lot of one-to-one things going on, so maybe this is a done for you service. So someone pays you and you say, okay, we will make YouTube ads for you, I will edit videos for you, it's a done for you service, then this should be a little bit more expensive. You should be charging your clients and your customers a higher ticket price compared to some other lower ticket things. If we move further away from our clients, so this is maybe one to a few, so you see things like masterminds or classrooms or group calls, then this is going to be a little bit less expensive because you can service more people at the same time. For 1 hour of one-to-one, that's taking you 1 hour and you're giving 1 hour of value to one person. Whereas maybe in a group call or a mastermind, it takes you 1 hour, you're giving 1 hour of your time, but you're giving an hour's worth of value to maybe 5 or 10 or 15 people. So that is a little bit less expensive because it's less interactive for each of the guests, but again, you're servicing more people, so you charge a cheaper price than you would for one-to-one. And then if you go one-to-many, which I recommend, this is just kind of setting low ticket to as many people in your niche as possible, then this is going to be less expensive. You're going to have a less hands-on experience for your customers, for your clients, so you're not on calls all the time with them, you're not holding their hand through the process, you're essentially giving them some information, giving them some content, giving them some value every now and then. So it's less interactive, but for them it's a lot less expensive and they still get a lot of valuable information. So you need to decide what your pricing strategy is going to be, and it depends on your business, it depends on your niche. I'm not going to go into detail of this. I do go into detail of that sort of stuff in my course, which you can find at the top link in the description, but for this video I'll keep it simple and say, depending if you're doing maybe one-to-one coaching or you're running masterminds or you're selling a course, then price accordingly. Price expensive for one-to-one and less expensive for one-to-many. So step 3 is to calculate your traffic. Now I'm going to use a resource here to help you boys out. It's from my mentor Ed Lawrence. I'll leave a link in the description to this spreadsheet that you can check out. So shout out to Ed for this spreadsheet. It's very, very helpful. And I want you to use this spreadsheet that I'm going to go through here to calculate what percentage of people you expect to click your links and therefore buy your products. So depending on whether you sell high ticket or low ticket, which you've decided in the previous step, your buy rates and your click-through rates are going to be a little bit different. Obviously, you're going to have a higher percentage of people buying if it's $50 compared to if it's $5,000, right? People don't just make a decision and just spend $5,000. They think through it more. It takes more time, and therefore less people are going to buy because there's more friction to the purchase. For example, if you're using higher ticket products, then you might want to use sales calls instead of just having a landing page where people buy your product. Have a landing page where people book into sales calls, and then you could take a sales call and tell them why they should buy your product. But for this example, I'll use a simple one which most of my clients and my students use, which is selling a low ticket product at a 3% click-through rate. So here we have that resource I was telling you about. And you can see down the left hand side we have the click-through rate of the link. So for example, if we're making a YouTube video or we're making an Instagram post, this is the percentage of people that watch our content and then click the link in the description or in the comments of those videos, of those pieces of content. And then we have the visitors here, and this across the top here is the percentage of click-through rate that the visitors use. So this would be actually buying the product. So for example, here we can enter the amount of views we get on a piece of content. So say we'll just take a simple example, one that most of my students and clients relate to, which is making a YouTube video. Say for example you have 500 views on your YouTube video. If we take the 3%, so we have 500 viewers, 3% of those viewers click the link in the description. We would have 15 people on our sales page. Then, if 3% of those 15 people buy our product, this means that for every 500 views, we will have 0.45 customers. So not even half a customer with 500 views. So let's change this views to say 1,000 and see what happens. You can see here that all the values have changed. So now with 1,000 views at 3%, we would have 0.9 people buying our product. Okay, so if we wanted one person buying at the 3%, we would need something like maybe 1,200. Yeah, 1,200, and we have 1.08 customers, so people who actually buy our things from 1,200 YouTube views. Now, to give you an example of where this is helpful, I'll give you one of the simplest examples that a lot of my customers relate to. So if you sell a $50 community and your costs for that community, you calculate the amount that you have to pay for the software and for your video editor and everything included. The cost to you per month is $195. And you're selling the community for $50 per month. What this means is that you would need 4 customers that month. So in the first month you need 4 customers to make a $5 profit. So if we use the 3% click-through rate like we did, and we know that we need 4 customers, then we can calculate, and I've already done this calculation, that we would need 4,446 views, and that would give us 4 customers for the month. So 4,446 views in 1 month would give us the 4 customers, which would then mean that we make a profit because it costs us $195 to run the community every single month. So that's what I want you to do here. I want you to have a look at the percentages, have a little play about with the calculator and see how many views you would need, how much traffic you would need per month to make a profit in your community, depending on your pricing and depending on your costs, which we covered in step 1 and step 2. And like I said, this 3% is just a rough average. If you click the top link in the description, I'll help you and walk you through how to increase this 3% to 5% and even 8% click-through rates with some people, so that you don't even need as much traffic and you still get lots and lots of customers and buyers. So moving on to step 4, now we have to put it all together. So we've calculated all of our costs. We've decided how much we're going to charge for our community, whether that's high ticket or low ticket. We found out how many views, how many impressions, how many visits to our landing pages we need each month to make a profit. Now we've got to put it all together. And I've made a resource for you, which is very, very cool, and it'll calculate everything you need. So I've made this with AI and I've called it the Community Churn Calculator. So you can optimize your community pricing for maximum profitability. And look how cool this is. All you have to do is use this resource, which you can find in the description. I'll put it in there for free. It is in my course, obviously, but I'll put it in there for free for this video, along with Ed's resource for the calculation of the impressions. So all you have to do is put in how much your community is going to cost, so maybe $50. You're going to say how many current members you have, 10 members. We can adjust the churn rate with a slide, and that, as you can see on the right hand side here, affects the lifetime value of a customer. You can put in how many new members you're going to have a month. You can put in your monthly operating costs. You can put in the cost of customer acquisition. So maybe if you're running ads, or if you're paying for customers, that's how much it's going to cost. And then you can put the time frame that you want to put the analysis in, and it gives you everything here. It gives you how much revenue you're going to have, how much profit you're going to have, what the lifetime value of a customer is, payback period, and then it says here whether community is profitable. It also gives you your key insights. So it says that you're growing by how many members a month. It'll give you your churn status. So if your churn is 16.5%, like in this example, then that's a high churn rate and you need to try and get it lower. And then it also gives you the lifetime value to cost of acquisition of a customer ratio. And obviously we put in here 0, so it's infinite ratio, and that says that it's good here. And it also gives you the recommendations. So for example, our churn rate I've put in as 16.5, which is pretty high. Therefore this software has given us an optimization recommendation to focus on the onboarding. So it says create a 30-day new member journey, survey the people leaving to identify the pain points, increase community engagement, weekly events, track member engagement metrics weekly, build a strong onboarding sequence for new members, and create valuable content that justifies the monthly fee. So they're all things that would lower the churn rate, and I think this software is pretty sick. I literally made it with AI, and I'm giving it away to you for completely free, so check that out with the top link in the description. Okay, so you now know the maths and the metrics behind how to make a profitable community. But you might be thinking to yourself, okay, I understand the maths, I understand how I'm going to make my community profitable, but how do I actually set this thing up? How do I get a community up and running effectively and quickly? And if you want to know exactly how to set this up, how to set the community up, the full blueprint, everything you need to know, you can click the video on screen now and find out exactly how you can do that.